Welcome to Tell Me Your Story, the Real Impact Daily Inspiration Series. I'm Richard Dugan with Dennis Henson, the author of Real Impact, and we will be giving you all the particulars on this particular edition, as well as talking about a particular story from the book. And in this case, it is The Philosopher's Stone.
The Philosopher's Stone. Joanne Jo Kathleen Murray always dreamed of becoming a published author. As a young girl, she made up stories to entertain her younger sister. But as a teenager, her parents encouraged her to pursue other interests. Jo majored in French in college, but preferred reading Dickens and Tolkien to schoolwork. Still anxious to become a writer, she convinced her school to publish one of her essays. After graduating in 1986, she accepted a position with Amnesty International. And though she found the work important, Jo couldn't resist spending her work time typing book ideas. During meetings, she developed character names and jotted down plots. Needless to say, that position did not work out. One day on a train ride from Manchester to London, an idea came to her mysteriously, and in a flash, a fully formed boy took shape in her head. She could see him clearly, a skinny, dark-haired lad wearing glasses. The revelation gave her a rush of excitement. She'd never felt that way about anything before. Not having access to a pencil or paper, she was forced to sit through the train ride as hundreds of characters and plot lines rushed into her mind. Getting off the train, Jo felt as if she had met a new friend and relished the thoughts of their future relationship. As soon as she arrived home, she started writing. After marriage, Joanne became pregnant, but when she miscarried, a dark depression consumed her. A year later, she had a child, which paused her dream of becoming an author. Then her depression became even more severe with the loss of her mother. But the worst was still to come. Once her marriage abruptly ended, Jo was left with nothing but a baby to support. With little money and no job, Jo depended on government assistance to get by. She often skipped meals to feed her daughter and borrowed money from her friends to pay the rent. She sometimes waitressed at her cousin's short-order cafe to bring in a few more dollars, where she'd jot down a few pages on napkins between shifts and breaks. After the baby was asleep at night, she wrote into the morning hours. Jo took every opportunity to write for 5 years, mostly while sitting in cafes. When her manuscript was completed, her hopes for its success were high. However, book agents and publishers told her, "It's too long for children, and it won't be of interest to anyone else." Disappointed but not defeated, Joanne sought out other outlets. Then a remarkable event provided her with the break she'd needed. An agent agreed to review her manuscript and took the first 3 chapters to read. Upon arriving home, he dropped the manuscript on a table. A short time later, his 8-year-old daughter, Alice, said she was bored. So to appease her, he asked if she would help him review a new book. When Alice agreed, the agent, hoping to divert her attention for a while, handed her a partial manuscript of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Later that night, Alice returned, insisting that she must read more. Puzzled, the agent began to quiz his daughter. It was apparent that the little girl was mesmerized by the story. So the next day, the astonished man contacted Joanne and took her on as a client. Subsequently, he convinced Bloomsbury to publish Harry Potter, and though the publisher paid Jo £2,500 for the right to take on the story, their editor was not enthused. He even warned her to keep your day job. But Jo would never need a job again. Harry Potter took the world by storm, and as you probably deduced, Joanne, whose last name was Rowling, became a world-famous author under the pen name J.K. Rowling. Jo's pen name is a combination of her first name, Joanne, her grandmother's name, Kathleen, and her maiden name, Rowling. Joanne Murray, the single mom, struggling author, and diner waitress who depended on welfare and borrowed money, realized her dream and became a published author. Oh yes, she also became the world's first woman billionaire. Don't give up on your dreams and don't stop trying. One day, you may end up like J.K. Rowling, achieving your goals in the face of everything life places in your way. Had I really succeeded at anything else, I might never have found the determination to succeed in the one area where I truly belonged. J.K. Rowling.
You know, that story is remarkable from both yours and my perspectives as authors. And I have to say, that's one of the things I love about accomplishing something, sometimes even for the first time. I am a first time songwriter, I'm a first time author, and a first time lots of other stuff, I'm sure. It's kind of neat to then say, I'm a part of the club now, you know?
It's a big club.
It indeed it is. Um, but at the same time, we have to join our club. And this is one of the things I'd like to talk about, especially in light of her story. And I do find it interesting the obstacles that she went through, and that little last little line there about the obstacles that she faced. Sometimes I wonder if we don't achieve our goal, or that we do achieve our goals, not in spite of, but sometimes because of the obstacles. It's almost like, what is it? As a child, when your parents tell you no, you're going to do it anyway. It's like you need to use reverse psychology. If you don't want someone to do something, tell them, okay, go ahead.
That's right. Well, successful people used obstacles as stepping stones. They learn from their failures and they embrace them and say, okay, what did I learn from this? Is there some way that I can avoid this kind of thing happening in the future? And if you pile up enough of those, then that's called experience, which is a very valuable thing to have.
Yeah. Well, that is something that has always frustrated me, or did frustrate me, whenever I was looking for a job in those early days, post Paperboy, which I got to tell you, I loved. I absolutely loved that job. And you'd go in there and say, well, but do you have any work experience? No. Well, you need a little work experience in order to come work for us. It's like, well, wait a minute. I'm in a catch 22 here. How do I get the experience to come work for you if I can't get a job unless I have work experience? It's like, which came first, the chicken or the egg? And that can be a real frustration. And I suppose when it comes to writing books, in her case, and by the way, I have not read any of those books. I've certainly seen all of the movies that were made from the books. What a creative mind.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's understandable when they took wings and flew. She was a very talented writer, but no one would have ever known it had she not had the seventh secret of success, which was persistence.
Yeah.
Just wrote anyway. Didn't matter that she was starving, hardly had the money to pay her kids, she had to borrow money to pay the rent. She was on government assistance. That didn't bother her. She just kept writing.
Yeah.
Well, that's, taking a step towards your ultimate goal paid off $1 billion.
Mm. Well, she was the first, as it says in the story. She's the first female billionaire. And of course, I would that was one of my goals. Doggone it. Well, I have to come up with a new one now. But it's just, to me, it's fascinating to all get out to go through the process of learning how to do the things that we learn to do. It's not always easy in that process. Sometimes I know that my wife in particular, without sharing too much here, of course she's dyslexic, and sometimes you got to go in to refresh your medical information, your certification, let's say CPR and so forth, and they'll have a test. Well, she's always struggled with written tests, so I says, well, why don't you talk to them and ask if you could have it orally done? Could they do an oral test? Well, believe it or not, she went in and asked, and they did it orally, and she passed with flying colors. So this is where the whole aspect of choices, how many, what different choices do you have? And sometimes, maybe most of the times, Dennis, we got to think outside the box, don't we? And we can't rely on the old ways of doing things. We gotta say, okay, well, what's another way to accomplish my goal? you know. I can't go through the wall. I can't get over it. I can't get under it. I can't go around it. Um, and this is far fetched, but I'm going to go the other way. In other words, I'm going to go around by turning my back on the wall and just I'm going to keep going until I come to the other side of that wall. It may take a long time, you know. I may have to circumvent the globe, but how important is this goal to me?
Exactly. Yeah. She followed the seven secrets of success, and she had her mind right. She knew what she wanted, and she sought wisdom, you know, developed her skills. Her plan was to complete the book, and she took massive action by writing on her breaks when she was working in a restaurant and at lunchtime. Uh, Her alliances that she formed was the book distributors.
Yeah.
Without them, she would have never gotten the book out. Well, all of the people in the book followed the seven secrets of success.
It is interesting too that she kept her train of thought. I mean, this is one other thing. I mean, if you're doing it on your breaks, then you've got all that time when you're working, you're focused on your work, hopefully, and then you got to when you get back to what you're writing, you've got to okay, now I got to shift here. I got to remember, okay, where were we going with this? That kind of thing. And that takes great concentration, and obviously that's what she had. And she went on to write, I don't know how many other Harry Potter books she wrote. I don't know if it was five or six or
A
whatever it
lot.
was. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. Yes.
I also know too, because they came out, I believe, the first ones came out, what, in the late 80s, I think it was, maybe early 90s. And at that time, I was working for a Christian station, and boy, they were not only unkind, oh, these books are from Satan and so on and so forth. And it's like they're fairy tales. That was my perspective. They're fairy tales. Get a grip, okay? And if you wanna see evil everywhere you look, then guess what? You're going to find it. And I say if you're looking for good, all right, if that's what you're looking for, you're going to find it. You're looking for kindness, you're going to find it. And she she made a difference in a lot of people's lives through these books. And who knows how many other authors were created through her writings. I mean, that's another aspect of what we're talking about here in terms of the way we leave a legacy. We talked in a previous program about, I want to leave everything that I know to somebody, so they can use those tools, that kind of thing.
Yeah. And from what I understand, she's a very charitable person. She's given a lot of her vast fortune to help other people, which is very commendable.
Yeah, it makes a big difference too, not only to the lives of the people she's helped, but she as well.
Right.
And and this is this is something that's forgotten pretty regularly, Dennis. We came into this world with nothing, and we will leave with nothing. And I remember a movie. This wasn't the person was not dying, but it was a situation where he wanted to become a member of a team, but the only way Brewster's Millions with Richard Pryor, and the only way he could do it, he had to get rid of $1 million in 30 days in order to inherit or to get even more. And he was trying to figure out every which way and legal means, aside from, throwing it out a high rise in New York City and causing commotion, in order to be able to do that. And as he began the process, the further along he went, the more he realized how he was helping people. And that's really, I think, what we're here to do is we're here to help one another. And you're
You,
doing that through your book.
yeah, you mentioned, you have nothing when you come and you can't take anything with you, but you can leave something behind,
Hmm.
which is, that's a blessing. And speaking of that, I would like to give everyone a copy of I'm sorry, Real Impact Daily Inspiration ebook. If they go to realimpactbook.com, scroll down to the bottom of that website, click on podcast attendee, then you have 3 gifts there. And one of those is the instant download. You click on it and you can have that book in your hand, the ebook, or in your computer before we finish this podcast. And there are no strings. It will not be put on any kind of a mailing list. And you have the option of clicking on a link that says, if you have other books coming out, I want to know.
Mm-hmm.
Then you'll be put on the list so that when my books come out, you get one email saying, have a new book come out, The 7 Secrets, The Laws of Nature for Success, Real Impact 2 or 3, or whatever the book is, you'll be notified.
And it's a great opportunity. And of course, you also have an opportunity to share your legacy with others, especially the young people, through a GoFundMe account. Tell us about that.
The first link on that website is The Mystery of the Lamp. So you should click on that and listen to The Mystery of the Lamp, which kind of tells you the magic of the book. And then about 3 links below that, it says Help the Children. And if you click on that, it takes you to a GoFundMe account where every penny that you donate goes toward purchasing these books to give to people in disadvantaged communities, mostly children, schools that don't have big budgets. And there are a lot of those. I mean, I used to call on schools and help them bring in money for their budget because most of them don't have the money that they need. It's the same way with libraries and smaller and more disadvantaged communities. We want to give books to them, nursing homes, senior citizen centers. So, and there's no big president that's going to be making most of the money that you're donating. Every penny goes toward purchasing books and delivering them to the places that I just mentioned.
Well, it's a wonderful opportunity to be a part of. And we talk about that on this program where we encourage people, if they'd like to support the work we're doing, be a part of it by financial support to take care of the ancillary things. Hey, we thank you, thank you, thank you. And to that end, with Dennis's opportunity for you to be a part of what he is doing to get these books into the hands of the young people and all of the other areas as well. Thank you, thank you, thank you for those who have helped and to those who will help him out by going to that link on that page, which happens to be realimpactbook.com. As we continue talking with Dennis here on the Real Impact Book series, Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan along with Dennis Henson, and this series we've been doing for nearly a full 6 months, Dennis, as we continue talking. And we've covered a lot of ground. We've gone over a lot of different things. We still have a few more stories that we're going to go into as we move through the next few months. But you also have in this book, in addition to these stories, you have a collection of poems, and you also have a collection of your 50 years of collected quotes from all different people. And then you have, ordinarily you'd say 2 book lists, but actually I say 3, because the one book list that I think people should look into is within the story of Abraham Lincoln. And those are the books that he read. But then you have the bibliography of Real Impact Daily Inspiration. And then you have another list of who knows how many books that you were inspired by. And I would venture that the reason behind that last list is the same as why you put this book together.
Well, it's part of the whole process was to create a tool to help people form the habit of reading something positive every day that moves them toward their goal, regardless of the time limitations. So, for example, if they have 5 minutes in a day, they can read a poem. If they have 30 minutes, maybe they're waiting on a plane at the airport, they can read one of the longer short stories. If they get home and they're totally exhausted and they forgot to read today, flip over to the back and read one of the quotes. Take you 3 or 4 seconds, and you can sleep thinking about something really, really positive. So it makes the habit very simple to form, and it's fun. And once you form that habit, it will change your life, especially if you know, you see, it's a trick. The trick is this. In order to form a habit of reading something positive every day that moves you toward your ultimate goal, you have to know what your ultimate goal is.
Mhm.
And the book, every single day, the habit reminds you. It's like a rudder on a boat that keeps you moving in the same direction.
Mhm.
A boat without a rudder just goes and, who knows? So this book can help you in so many different ways. And I challenge you, if you're teetering, wondering, is this really a good book? Go to Amazon, look at the reviews, read what people are saying about the book. It has more than 100 reviews and an average of a 5-star rating, which is very difficult. If you're an author or you know an author, to get over 100 ratings and still have a 5-star rating means it must be a pretty good book, because there's some crazy people out there that'll give you a 1 star just to be mean. I mean, really,
Yeah.
there are. So
Yeah.
5 stars is hard, and there's not a lot of books that maintain a 5-star rating. So I'm very proud of that.
It's interesting that you bring that up because I have not, I'll be honest with you, I have not checked the rating on even on my book as far as reviews and so forth. I have to do that here. Maybe following this program, I'll go to Amazon and go to choices and see how many reviews there are and what they are and so forth. But it's kind of like I take the same perspective with my book that you do with Real Impact Daily Inspiration. And my mother sort of reinforced this, helped me to better understand. She says, whether you make a lot of money from this book or not, you can be proud that you have published your first book. And my goal for the longest time was to get the darn thing published. All right. Now guess what? I get to create, I get to think about and come up with another goal. And that's something I wanted to talk to you a little bit about. And that is your goal, of course, is to get the book into the hands of 1 million people. So you haven't quite gotten there, but you've had the milestones, you've written it, and now you've published it. And now the distribution begins or has already begun. And so you're on your way to getting it into the hands of 1 million people. So let's say you get there. All right, today I just hit 1 million people. I just gave my millionth book out to 1 million people. If you haven't already thought about it, and it's okay if you haven't, now it's time to choose another goal, right?
Well, I'm always working on more than one.
Right.
I have 4 real estate books that I have completed that are in the process, and every single month I'll have a real estate book being published. So you'll get if you click that link, you'll be notified. I just finished the Laws of Nature for Success. I just finished that. I'm polishing it. It'll probably come out in about a month, so around May 1st. I'm working on the 7 Secrets. I'm working on the Real Impact 2 and 3, and I actually started 4 this week. So that's kind of the track that I'm on. So there'll always be more and more and more. And all the books were written to help people. It's funny. The formatter called me yesterday or day before, and he said, I've been reading your book about real estate investing. He said, this is really amazing. He said, I'm going to start investing and doing this stuff. What are you talking about? I thought, well, that's interesting. I'm glad you liked the book. So, if somebody's watching this that's interested in real estate investing, be sure to check my books out. And also, I'm a speaker. I'm available. So if you go to realimpactbook.com, it says contact us on the top link right in the middle. It has my phone number and email address. So if you have a podcast or if you're running an expo or something and you need a keynote speaker, I'm available for that. And Richard got me started with radio. I actually have three radio programs, two more, including this one. And I really enjoy those. So, if you know someone or if you're a producer of a radio program and want to have a guest, I'm available for that too.
Yeah. It to me is an extraordinary journey that we all travel. But again, it goes back to what you have said time and time and time again. You need to know where you're going
Yeah.
in order for the travel, the journey, if you will, to really have any meaning. And, it's there are times, for example, I'm taking a walk and I reach a certain point along the way and I turn around and go back the other way. All right, I've walked as far as I want to walk and get my exercise, that kind of thing. And for me, that was the goal, to get the exercise. It
Right.
wasn't to get somewhere, it was just to enjoy the walk, enjoy the cool air, the birds and the plants, the trees, and so on and so forth. But then there are those times when I need to get to this place, point B. And how am I going to do that? Am I going to walk? I love Google Maps, for example, and I'm wanting to find a location, and I have the address, and I'll put it in, and it gives you at least four choices. One is, okay, I will tell you, says Google, how long it will take if you want to walk, if you want to drive your vehicle, if you want to take a bus, if you want to take a train, if you want to take a plane. Obviously, you'd want to go a long distance if you're going to take a plane. And it will tell you how long it'll take you. The mileage is pretty much the same for each one, but the path isn't always the same because the walking path, you can't walk on the freeways. So it's going to have to go around those high speed lanes. Whereas if you're in your car, you can jump on the freeway. A bus, same thing. Train, not so much. You're get delegated to the tracks. If I wanted to walk from Santa Barbara to LA, I could walk. I could take the car. I can take a bus, and I can take a train, and I can even take a plane from Santa Barbara Airport to LAX. Or if I want to get off in Burbank where it's not quite so crowded. And it's kind of a neat opportunity in that regard. Now, of course, I will tell you, Dennis, that if I'm going to LA, I'm going to take the train. I love the train because I don't have to think about a thing and I get to meet all kinds of neat people and walk around a little bit and have a little something to eat and drink. And it's a wonderful experience, but I'm getting to my goal of point B, Los Angeles. And that's what you're talking about here on the program with setting a goal. That's the whole point of setting a goal. You're setting up point B.
Right. And my goal is really to help a million people. Now, if I reach a million, then I'll increase that to 10 million
There you
and
go.
then 100 and then a billion. And so, there's really not an end to it, but the first major accomplishment would be to hit a million.
Yeah. Can you tell me how are you able to somehow gauge it? Is it based upon the number of books that have been printed / distributed? You have a little counter that you click, as the books go out?
Well, I know the ones that people have ordered, it's right around 5,000. But there's no way to keep up with how many I've given away. I
Mhm.
mean, of the ebooks. So that's
Yeah.
probably 5 times that many, but there's no way of knowing. But if I end up mailing out or giving out or having shipped out a million, then I'll feel like I've accomplished something.
Absolutely. Dennis Henson, my guest here on Tell Me Your Story. This is the Real Impact series, and we will continue it with Dennis here on the program that gives you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. With Real Impact Daily Inspiration in your hands, you have a whole bunch of stories you can read, poems that you can read. That's one of the beautiful things that I have learned, and I have never really been a connoisseur of poems, or at least I thought I wasn't until I realized that many of the songs that I listened to, if you took away the music, you just looked at it on a page, that's a poem, a beautiful poem. Some of the I will tell you, there's one song that just flashed into my mind by the late Dan Fogelberg called Netherlands. And when you listen to it, I would say it's very spiritual or esoteric as you listen to the words. One of the lines in it has to do with, I came across a fork in the road, and I was basically, I was torn as to which way to go. One road was acceptance on life, and the other road offered sweet peace. And I'm listening to this going, well, you know what? You ain't going to go wrong by choosing either of those roads, even though you can only go down one of them, you know? But that is a beautiful poem that he set to music. I'm not sure that he wrote it, but it's wonderful. So when you go into the poetry section of Dennis's book, sounds like I'm talking about a library. Yeah, over here's the story section, over here's the poetry section, and then there's a quotes section. But when you go in there, I wouldn't be surprised if I start reading some of those poems, Dennis, and I start hearing music, thinking, oh boy, this would be great set to a piece of music. And I wish that I was at that level of creativity to be able to create and write the tune that would go with it, the melody and so forth. But then like I said, you have that book of lists. But the poetry section, I think it's a wonderful thing. What are there, 100 or more, or several hundred poems?
I haven't counted. There's a lot. It's a 50-year collection, but then I cut it into about a third, but they're all very powerful poems. Some you've heard before, and some you
Yeah.
probably haven't heard before, but they're
I,
motivational.
I know,
All.
I know Casey at the Bat is in there.
Yes, that's kind of an unusual one to be there because Casey struck out.
Yeah,
But I made a little comment at the bottom is this, it wasn't the end, it was just one game.
yeah,
You know, he was still Casey.
yeah,
Yeah, and there'll be another game tomorrow.
yeah. And actually, that was a one at bat. That was just a sing. Sometimes these guys will get up and do 3 or 4 at bats. You know,
Right.
yeah, and I know too that sports. I used to produce a program, a golf program, and I don't know that much. I've watched the games on TV. I love watching the Masters. Oh, what a beautiful game! What a course that is in Arlington, or I'm sorry, in Augusta. But you know, most of the games that we play, whether on a field or a course or what have you, they take place in the mind.
Yes,
That's where the game is really played. And
right.
in Casey's case, for example, yeah, he struck out that at bat, but he came back to swing again and probably hit one out. You know,
The
and
poem, the Casey at the Bat's cathartic
yeah,
because of the rhyme and rhythm, and you're actually at the game. You can see the people getting excited, and you see they drop off, and then they get really excited again, and at the end, uh, he strikes out, and then it has this little remorseful ending. It's a great poem.
yeah,
I put it in there for that reason, but it's unusual because most of the rest of the poems are just motivational.
yeah,
Uh, but sometimes you strike out.
yeah,
Don't worry about it. It's life.
yeah. And I think that one of the things that we've kind of talked about is, let's just say that you strike out. All right. What did
Yeah.
you learn at that at bat when you swung away and swung away and swung away and didn't hit the ball? What did you learn? Maybe you learn I need to change my stance. I need to change the level at which I'm swinging the bat. I need to focus a little bit more on that ball when it's coming at me, and so on and so forth. And I think that That's where we get those life lessons, that will continue to move us forward towards our goal.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's, I'm thinking of some of the other poems in there. Don't quit. It's all in the state of mind. The touch of the master's hand. Now, those are some very powerful poems. Invictus. Uh, and I can't even begin to name all the poems that's in there, but they are really, really powerful. And I wouldn't have written them down and kept them for 50 years had they not.
That's true. That is true. Dennis Henson and yours truly, Richard Dugan, talking about his work. It is called Real Impact Daily Inspiration. Go to let's try that one again. Go to realimpactbook.com and you can get yourself a free ebook copy as well as purchase a copy, a hardcover, paperback, and you can also get it in Audible format too. You can get that as well. I have it. We've been listening to the Audible version, and the narrator was, I think, well chosen by the whoever chose that person chose the right person, and I really enjoy listening to this gentleman's voice as well as yours, Dennis. And we'll continue as we talk about Real Impact here on the Real Impact Tell Me Your Story series. I'm Richard Dugan with Dennis Henson, and Dennis, it's amazing how fast some of these programs go by. We still have plenty of time on this one, but they just go by so fast. It's hard to believe sometimes how many weeks we've been talking about these different stories within your book. But it's been exciting. It's been a lot of fun, and we're going to continue doing so all through this year. Want to ask you a little bit about the the process. Now, we've talked, of course, you've talked about, and for those who are tuning in, maybe the first time, enlighten them on the process that you went through in choosing the stories, the poems. The quotes were easy because you had them in a file folder, file cabinet, wherever you had them, and you were able to just pull those out, and then of course figure out which ones you wanted to put in the first edition, and so forth. So, for those who are joining us for the first time, what was the process you went through?
When I decided to do the book, I thought, well, this is going to be easy because for 50 years I've been collecting motivational books, stories, quotes, and using them in my training. Then when I sat down and started putting the book together, I realized it was an encyclopedia. It wasn't a single book. It was an awful lot. So I had over 100 stories, and then the quotes I actually put in the book was probably less than a third of the entire. So what I wanted to do was take the very best ones. That's why it took so long.
Mm-hmm.
So the threshold for the stories were, if I read the story and I didn't get a tear running down my cheek, that story didn't go in there. It had to be cathartic because I had read The Greatest Salesman in the World by Og Mandino, and the story at the beginning was cathartic. It had a couple of places where I just couldn't help tearing up.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I picked the stories. The poems, I reread the poems, and if I felt inspired when I finished the poem, it stayed in.
Mm-hmm.
If it just kind of, then I can put it in another book. So I went through the whole process on all the short stories, poems, quotes, and books. And I picked the best of, and they were already all the best. I picked the best of the best for this book. And as I'm writing these others, new things are coming to me for Real Impact Book 2 and 3. 3 is going to be really interesting. I found a new story this week that I'm going to put in 3. It's called Checkmate. And if you want to find that story, you can just Google or go on YouTube and get the story. There's a lot of preachers that are preaching about it, but it's going to be in my book. Now, if you hear the story and then you read it in my book, it's going to be, there'll be a lot more elaboration because I don't just take the basic story. I do a lot of research, and that one's about a painting. So I talk about the who painted it, when they lived, and how long it's been there, it's been painted, and how famous it was, and how it got to that particular gallery. And then I look into the people who were touring the gallery, and I tell you about their lives and so forth. So I try to make it a lot more interesting, but it's still the same story. So I can't fail because the story's good when I start. I mean, so you're going to get a good story regardless.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you, I am looking forward to book three. We've talked about it a little bit. And the reason I even mention it is because I have an interview coming up with a couple of people, actors, who are they're going to reboot, as the phrase goes, Little House on the Prairie.
Oh,
I was surprised that they would be doing that. But I will tell you, as a kid growing up, we watched it and I'd sit in front of the TV and I would get a tear in my eye. Most every single program, a lump in my throat because I I don't know. I related to what was happening in the story. And that's the focus of the interview that I'm going to do with them. And that is the way it was then. And are they going to try to, you know, bring that format, if you will, that touching story format into the present? Now, I also feel too, and this is in light of your book three, talking about miracles and so forth, they were never preachy. The show was never preachy, but there was a hint of religion in there because they had a church there and you'd go in there and you hear the pastor speaking and so forth. And it was good stuff. And it made sense with the story that was being told at the time. And I think that we've kind of lost that today in one sense, you know, that people have I think that some folks have become a little, I don't know. The word I think of is calloused over a little bit, you know, and cynical is another word to use there because, you know, things aren't going the way that they think they ought to. And that's why I think inspirational stories, such as what you have in Real Impact, help to scrub away that callousness, if you will, and soften us up a little bit to say, hey, the world is a great place to be in. Is there room for improvement? Oh, absolutely. But it ain't as bad as we're being led to believe by whoever it is you're listening to. So stop listening to them. Read Real Impact, Daily Inspiration, and let go of that cynicism because and replace it with some kindness for yourself as well as for others. Dennis.
I agree. I was reading on Facebook one day. They had this little blurb there, and it was about Stuart Hamlin, which I didn't recognize his name, you know. But when I saw his name, my eyes began to tear.
Mm,
And I thought, what is going on here? This is just a name. And then I went and did the research and I realized this was a story that my mother told me when I was a little boy over and over. And she would sing the song that the story's about that she
mm,
wrote.
hmm.
So there's a little hook. So you'll want to get Real Impact 3 to get the whole story.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
You know, you can honestly, if you can put aside any biases you might have in regards to a religion, if you will, set it aside and just read the story for the sake of the story and get into the characters. That's one of the things I love about Audible is it's so easy to get into the characters, whether it's a dramatized version of a book or whether it's a narrator who is just doing a great job of building the anticipation and so forth. You know, it's just a wonderful thing. And whether you read the book or you listen to it, you know, get yourself a copy of Real Impact Daily Inspiration from realimpactbook.com. Dennis, once again, here we are coming to the end of another program, and we were certainly talking about J.K. Rowling and her book, Harry Potter, and the Harry Potter series. Wow, what a phenomenal story that was and is, I should say, if you can read it for yourself in the book. And what an inspiration for the rest of us that in spite of, or again, because of whatever you're going through, maybe it propels you forward into reaching your goal.
right.
Yeah. Thanks
Right.
thanks so much for joining us again.
Well, thank you. It was a lot of fun. I look
Yeah.
forward to next time.
And we will be back next time with another edition of Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World, where we're giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. On Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. Mondays, I should rephrase that, Mondays at 1 a.m., Wednesdays at 9 a.m., and Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m. following the news. And we certainly hope that you will listen to it streaming live at those times at richarddugan.com, with podcasts at SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Amazon Music. We're also on YouTube where you can watch these conversations. I hope you will. And until our next broadcast, podcast, videocast, love Talal. Jeanette, I'm still listening. Dad, continue to be happy because I am. Smokey, I'll see you on the other side. Mike, thanks for letting me into your life. And to my dear friend Zorro, aho, aho.